Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. That's like my story of my life.
So, I mean, do you work a lot in artificial intelligence?
I work with some. I'm just saying my intelligence is
Artificial.
artificial.
No, I think there's probably a different word. It's pretending to be intelligent.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Do you think that AI is going to kill us all?
Yeah, so that's kind of like the running gag, right? Because we all watch the Terminator movies like that, where basically the AI learns how to become sentient and then realizes the human race is a virus.
Right.
Right. So we know that story. It's interesting because I don't know that that's going to happen, at least not in our lifetimes. But all AI really is it's a bunch of data that computers analyze. And then it tries to learn from. And this is like where things like ChatGPT come in. Right. And this is why when you ask ChatGPT a question, it usually gets stuff wrong. Because where is it getting that information from?
I got a hot take. ChatGPT kind of sucks.
Well, for now it does, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll write stuff quick, but a lot of times it's wrong. It
That's what I'm saying. But where's it getting its information?
Yeah. So
it's getting it from people that are wrong.
Well, it's a large language model or whatever. But I don't know if you can really, extrapolate artificial intelligence from consciousness, right? I mean, if you think about a machine that's like an algorithm and just smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter, like you program everything that humans know into it. Let's just pretend you could do that. That doesn't necessarily mean the lights are on. You know what I mean? It just knows all this stuff. And by the people who say that we're going to program artificial intelligence, by saying that, you're making the assumption that consciousness and cognitive ability is just a matter of, a certain amount of data being intertwined, and that naturally creates the emergent property of like a consciousness or whatever. But I don't think that's necessarily the case, So I don't know we'll ever produce an actual artificial conscious being. What scares me even more is that the lights are off and something becomes incredibly powerful and incredibly useful or whatever, but doesn't have guardrails. So I mentioned when we were driving over here, the Paperclip doomsday scenario. So let me just throw this out there. Imagine there's a company that makes paper clips, right?
Yeah.
And it can be anything, potatoes, whatever. Let's just use paper clips as the example. You say to this artificial intelligence, I want you to make as many paper clips as possible. I'm a paperclip company. I sell paper clips. I need as many paper clips as possible. Well, it might just decide that the atoms in our bodies are better used for energy to create paper clips, and it will turn the entire observable universe into paper clips unless we interfere with it. Right?
There's actually a TV show or a movie that kind of does that, where it's this conglomerate corporation that its only job is to make stuff, right? And it makes all this stuff, but it has basically killed all the humans, so nobody can consume it.
Right.
But it still thinks it needs to make stuff.
Yeah, it would be making paper clips long after humans are gone. That's what scares me. The proposition of, another country creating drones that just randomly take out, Americans or, anybody really. I mean, the weaponized use of AI, data, stealing data, passwords, hacking, all that stuff is extraordinarily frightening to me. But there's also going to be a lot of cool stuff that comes out of it. I think the first few years.
Yeah, I think that the consciousness thing is definitely a point that is probably not going to happen, right? It's not going to become conscious and become like a human. But what's going to happen is it's going to make zero-sum decisions about who lives and who dies,
right.
Or, this person is obviously a bad person because of data.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to drone strike this person because, they're not worthwhile.
Well, I mean, talking about the consciousness thing, I mean, that's an actual theory of consciousness. It's called integrated information theory, which is that as we grow and we get more information, more neural connections, we become more conscious, more aware, or whatever. But there's also the Nobel Prize last year proved that local realism is false in the universe. So nothing is tangibly real. Nothing within space-time that includes you, me, all the information in our heads. There's a level beyond space-time. There's the amplituhedron and the cosmic polytope, all this mathematical shit that you don't even need to worry about. But like nothing is fundamental in our world. So like there are theories that consciousness actually is the foundation for everything, and that like the space and all that matter rises from consciousness and not vice versa. So if that's the case, then we're not going to be able to create conscious machines. We're going to open portals to new consciousnesses. We're going to open like portals for consciousness to come through. And we know, like, just being human beings, not all consciousnesses are friendly.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, imagine a super intelligent, super evil machine. You know? That's terrifying. That's the Terminator scenario.
Yeah. Or Brainiac.
Brainiac. But, like, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff. Like, the amount of, like, entertainment value that AI is going to have. I've used it a lot in like story writing, and I used it a lot in this podcast I did called Snap, which is about an alligator that takes over this golf resort, kills a bunch of people, eats a little kid.
Is it the Happy Gilmore scenario?
It's somewhat based on that. I have, my friend Kurt is a golfer, and in the
By the way, rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
Yeah, rest in peace, Apollo Creed. In the opening scene, my buddy Kurt is golfing, and he gets eaten by an alligator.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I used AI a lot to make that process go smoother. It narrated it with AI voices. I think that type of stuff, like voice cloning and like face cloning and stuff, like we're going to have at some point, like movies starring Brad Pitt and James Dean, and I don't know, like, how it figures out with like the likenesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's probably all sorts of legal stuff, but Bruce Willis just sold his likeness.
He did, yeah.
To do commercials like as young Bruce Willis because he's got like dementia and he's sick. Like what's to say you can't bring back Elvis and have Elvis do holograms? There's Tupac songs that sound as good as anything he did.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of like a weird scenario there because like I like the idea of having this be the ability to do that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you know, I feel like a lot of that stuff is being done without permission.
Yeah.
Like the stealing of artists' work and like putting it through an AI and then passing it off as your own. It's just like, does it kill innovation? Does it kill human innovation? Do we just rely on these things to do them for us as opposed to actually, you know, doing it ourselves? And it's an interesting way to go. And I'm hoping that, you know, people kind of get ahead of the regulation of that before it gets out of hand. Because I feel like people are going to start getting their stuff stolen constantly, and it's just going to be chaos.
But I mean, there are some cool things too. Like, so if you look at the logo for our podcast, like the two guys, there's two stick figures. I made that using AI. I didn't use GPT. I used Bard.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess the Google or Microsoft, whatever. And I just said two stick figures on a transparent background or a black background or whatever it was, having a good time podcasting and smiling in a mirror image of each other or whatever. And that's what it was. It spit out the first one. It was perfect right out of the gate.
Yeah.
There's been times over the evolution of this where like you try to get something and you can't. Like so my cat Joba died a few years ago, and I tried to create some art. Like I wanted to make some paintings of Joba, and like even using reference pictures, it can't recreate Joba like exactly.
Well, it ends up with like 4 paws on one hand.
Right. It's just slightly different. Like the eyes look weird.
Kill me.
I read something interesting, which is that the things that happen when you're dreaming, like you can't read text, you can't like interact with like light switches, things like that. There's certain, you can't tell time. Those are all the things, you can't do math. Those are all the things that AI has trouble with. It's like the exact same things that humans have trouble with when they're dreaming. So maybe we're all just like a dream of a bigger AI.
Yeah, this could be. I mean,
which would suck.
Well, would it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be blanked out of existence when somebody unplugs the AI.
Well, I mean, you think about like Cypher from the Matrix, right? I mean, like
that's true.
He was like all on board with the revolution. Then he was like, you know what? I really miss steak.
And he's like, my brain tells me it's real. It tastes real.
Like, what do I care?
Yeah, what do I care if it's real? I want to be rich. I want to be an actor. That guy was a great like actor. Like he's a great character actor.
Yeah, he is.
Matrix, man, that is. Have you seen the new Matrix movie?
The latest one, no. I kind of gave up after like the third one. I was like, man, this is
It was awful.
It got a little out there for me.
First one was wild, though.
First one was great.
I actually watched it in psychology class in high school. And I remember just being like, my mind was blown by the whole concept. And then, like, my mind went to all these weird places. I'm like, this could really happen. And I mean, if you believe what Elon Musk says, which, there are things that he knows about and things that he doesn't, clearly. But one of the things I do think he knows about is, AI. And he says if you factor in any kind of improvement over time, eventually it's going to be indistinguishable from reality. I mean, I imagine things like what if you go to an arcade, right?
Yeah.
And you put on this little headset and you live an entire life. I think that's an episode of Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
Several of those. Yeah. Yeah.
But like you can like live out an entire life, and there's the holodeck from Star Trek. Like, these are concepts now that with AI, I think are not out of the realm of possibility.
Not just with AI though, like with headsets, right?
Technology. We'll get to headsets in just a minute.
Yeah. Just teasing it.
Teasing. A little teaser. That's what podcasters do. We tease. But like I'm psyched about AI. Like, I'm using it more and more. I'm finding it. So I run a business, right? I have this company, Stream Ski Media, and it hosts my podcasts and all this stuff. And there were some forms that I needed to fill out for taxes.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not a tax person. I'm not a tax professional. So I created an AI that said act as a tax professional in North Carolina and help me figure out like what forms do I need to send my contractors? What do I need to fill out with the state, with the Secretary of State for like the annual report and all this stuff? And it's extremely helpful for that type of stuff, like the clear black and white stuff. Like, legal documents are going to be done through AI and all that stuff. But anything creative, anything where like we have something in our head and we're trying to get it out, it's not going to find it exactly. Like, it can't read our minds. It can't innovate the way a human. It's pulling from large language models.
It's great for the mundane stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like taxes. But as you said before, it's not great at math, right? So,
well, I wouldn't use it to actually. I would use a standard calculator for that.
That's good because I'm a little worried about
or a spreadsheet.
The IRS, like, hey man, no, it was AI, dude. So,
but like website coding, that's like something that's amazing. Building new software. It's one of the reasons I'm excited about like Apple and Quest and stuff. The ability for regular people to code now.
Yeah.
Using AI to find errors in the code, to complete particularly tough sections of code. If you know what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, AI can help you get there, I think.
Yeah. Microsoft has a product called Copilot that kind of does that kind of thing where it's like
I've heard of Copilot.
Yeah, it's like a coding helper. I've heard mixed reviews about that as well because, again, it's that whole problem of it takes information it's grabbed on the internet. And it may be right and it may be wrong. It doesn't know that yet until you teach it that it's wrong, right? So it's a work in progress. I think it's going to have to just get better before people start using it regularly. But there are already people, leveraging it for their day-to-day activities and stuff.
All right. I feel like it's time to move on to the next section. And we're going to talk about some documentary